And he was being very vulnerable about himself, about how he needs to be willing to hold nothing back from the Lord. And I just had a knot in my throat and tears are in my eyes. And I'm just looking at this guy like, I want to be that right there. Yeah. I want our church to be that right there. I would, of all the moments of this so far this year, that one moment was it was powerful for me.
Yeah. I don't even remember what was the question I was going to ask you. I literally just drew a blank.
Staring at.
Oh, something. That's right. Something you've been staring at this year, good, bad, indifferent, work, personal life, whatever, and you are over it. If you say me, I promise you I'm gonna cry.
I wish I would have been that clever. Dang.
That just came to me like that. This could probably hurt my feelings. I'm already got my feelings hurt just a second ago. Not on camera.
I'm looking at him right now.
That wasn't invited to the brainstorming meeting. Shout out all the COTR staff that overlooked me.
My bad. That's on me.
I'm not just gonna blame you. I will, Miss Catherine. You're sweet as I'll get out. You're gonna forget me like that?
All right. So, okay, ready? It's my wall of bucks because I did not add one from last fall.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's all good. I look at that wall, I'm like, that's great, man. But the fact that there's no addition, I'm like, because I got beat in Illinois last year.
Dang. What was his name?
I didn't name any of them bucks, but
but it wasn't like you didn't. I saw you had bucks walk by you, but nothing like Illinois.
Yeah, nothing that for me at this point in my career I was willing to shoot.
I love when you talk like that about hunting. I mean, not me being the professional
It's not like that.
I don't know why I said I sound like you're from Okeechobee, but you
just
understand.
Like some of those bucks, even 3 seasons ago, I'd have harpooned them. But not now.
I don't know why that gets me so much the way you talk about hunting. It's such a blessing. That's how I talk about like popcorn and food and stuff like that.
But I am going back to Illinois with my friend Justin this year. I've already been invited. I'm going back.
Oh, praise God.
And I am gonna redeem myself. Because I saw some bucks I would have shot. I could not seem to get them in range of me. It's on this year.
Well, praise the Lord.
I'm gonna have a trigger finger that's itchy.
That's itchy. Wow.
Let's go.
I don't even know what to say to that. I think mine would be my office. If for those that don't know, I'm a massive Buffalo Bill fan. Also, I didn't know y'all's drummer is a Bills fan.
We have a unbelievable Bills Mafia in our church. Man, it's ridiculous. God.
If y'all looking for a new church, we meet at 67 Orange Street.
There's a ton of them.
But my office is all Bills like memorabilia. So I have like from the 90s of like these guys from the 90s that played, and I've got their
real
jerseys.
Legends. I mean, as much as I can't stand the Bills.
Yeah. So I've got like Doug Flutie. I've got Don Beebe, Andre Reed,
Bruce Smith.
So I've got Bruce. That was the most outside of my son has a Josh Allen signed, and then I have a Jim Kelly. Bruce Smith was an expensive one to try to get. So it's my wife puts them all in these amazing. I'll try to put like a little picture in here of my office. I'll try to like straighten it up and just so people can have context. Well, the Bruce Smith jersey falls out of the frame, right? So it wasn't a big deal. It was like one of those, like we'll just set the frame down like nothing. We just have to kind of put it back in. And it has been hanging up on the closet door. I will put all that in there because it's right where I sit and edit this podcast. From me to where I can touch it is that stupid Bruce Smith jersey hanging on a hanger that needs to be put back in the frame and hung on the wall. That's mine.
It's just one of those like annoying little things that making the time to do that is.
Well, yeah, and we bought Felicia's like we're not buying like jersey actual frames. We bought these like crazy. I don't know. I'll put them in there. People see them. But anyhow,
I look forward to see. I've never seen it. So I look forward to seeing it.
I know you don't watch the show, but I've
never seen your office.
What the shit?
I don't know. I know you're a nut about the Bills, but I've never seen. I've seen a few of those things, but never in your office. Yeah, so,
and I've got a Ricky Williams from Texas jersey in there too. I was a big Ricky Williams fan. Anyhow, so what we're doing these kind of episodes is we're talking and looking at reflecting on this year. We're right kind of the mid, especially when this comes out, midpoint of this year. And whenever you're watching, it's good to stop and reflect and self-assess. It's not just to talk about what we have seen God doing in our life, but something for you to look at too. Hey, where was I at? What were some goals, some visions, some dreams I had maybe in January? And where am I at on those? And a lot of times we don't like to look at that because it's sobering or it's hard or it's frustrating. But maybe this is time to get back on the horse with that and then to kind of have vision. I'm a big believer in seeing what God's done in your life and letting that build your faith for where you are so you can continue to walk with him. And that's just kind of what we're doing even now and kind of going back to January. So obviously Church on the Rock does a huge thing with 21 Days of Prayer. It's kind of where this podcast even finally got off the ground, was right going into 21 Days of Prayer.
Thanks to you.
So, thanks, but it's
true. It's true.
Yeah, we just took a risk and we recorded like, hey, if this sucks, we just won't put it out.
It was on. Okay. So it was on my calendar.
Right.
And I called Trevor the day before and I'm like, what are we doing tomorrow? And he's like, we're recording the podcast. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
So,
it was
yeah.
Shout back out to Miss Catherine.
There you go.
She was a big proponent of this as well.
Yeah.
She was a massive proponent because she was the one that put it on your calendar. Because I remember email like, hey, this is what we're doing. Larry's like, just email Catherine and just tell her to put it. And that's how it started.
Credit to our team. They're awesome,
You
man.
could go back and see all of that kind of stuff. I think we're on like this would be episode 28, something like that. So, which is kind of cool. But anyhow, y'all did 21 Days of Prayer where you're obviously believing for something, putting your faith like very tangible in a way in Christ. What's something that you've seen kind of come from that in your life, church life, whatever?
Yeah. So we started our year this year in a sermon series called Lead Me. And that's based again on Psalm 143:10. I just said the wrong one. Teach me. It starts out, teach
Lead Me's
me.
coming. Right.
Lead Me's coming.
Yeah,
Lead Me's
right.
coming in the fall. So we started with Teach Me. And we really, as a church, just wanted to posture our hearts in like a spirit of like teachability, in that if we are honest with ourselves, like we do not know best. God does. So God teach us. And so historically, and I'm going to give some shout outs to some great people right here.
Jesus.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You're so wise. 100 years ago, I took this 21-day fasting challenge thanks to my sister Jamie and her husband Derek, who I affectionately refer to as my wingman. And so they challenged us to a 21-day fast, and we did it. And this came from Free Chapel, Jensen Franklin's church up in Gainesville, Georgia. And I read his book, Fasting, which I would highly recommend if you are not familiar with fasting. The original fasting book, I think, is his best.
That's the yellow one again? Is that right?
It got like some brown in the cover. Right. Anyway, and I know they've done some variations.
I'll put a picture of it in here.
So this is when the practice of fasting began in our household. And then shout out to Church of the Highlands and Pastor Chris Hodges. Their church started to implement these seasons of prayer, of 21 days of prayer and fasting. And Highlands host 21 consecutive services in a row. And we've done that historically. And so this year was a year where we chose not to host services daily. That was a tough decision.
Yeah.
And the reason that we chose not to do it is because of the workload. We knew starting this discipleship journey, and we understood the calendar and what that was going to actually look like for us, particularly as a staff, our volunteer team that we call serve teamers. We just were trying to weigh all that. Like, all right, what is really going to add the most value? And so we were a little bit nervous, if you've ever heard that phrase, like killing sacred cows,
right?
And so people love to say like, we don't have sacred cows. And then you kill one of them and they don't love it.
Right.
And so I was nervous. I'm like, I don't know how our church is going to respond to this, but we just made the decision based on all that God has called us to. And we didn't want to just hang on to those services for tradition's sake, because I continually hear testimonies from people in our church that reference back to 21 Days of Prayer. It was 21 Days of Prayer 2018 or whatever. And God did this. And I mean, it is awesome. And so what we chose to do this year instead of services every day was we did have 21 days of prayer and fasting as a church. And we had, and because you helped us with this, but we had daily things going out and some videos and some devotionals and some scriptures and all this kind of stuff. And then we hosted 3 prayer services throughout. And what I loved so much is that our church was just like, all right, let's go. People still prayed. People still fasted.
Yeah.
People showed up to those services. People tuned in to what we were doing. And to me, it was just like this beautiful, I'm applauding our church family just to be like, thank you for just running with vision and not feeling like you're not doing what I prefer. Right. It was purpose over preference and they just rolled with that. And so, and I know that's not deeply spiritual, but it's very meaningful.
It's a really good, especially as a lead pastor, when people get on board and it doesn't, and you're making a big shift and it doesn't cause a chaos or whatever. I think legitimately we sent like 23,000 text messages or something like that during those 21. It was a lot. It was a lot. So yeah, that was a time.
Yeah, you were, because Trevor helps us with some of that stuff, and you were pretty new to it at that point. And it was like, welcome to the team.
Not that in depth by any means. It was like one or two little things here and there, and it was like, oh, we're doing. I'm like, oh my. Of course, I'm like, sure, whatever helps the kingdom. Right. I'm crying at night. Yeah. So
Trevor's
that was
crying himself to sleep at 4:30 p.m.
That's the truth. I'm up at 2 a.m. with massive anxiety of what's going to go out. And this didn't get approved, or the time I realized we ran out of text credits, like the day we were supposed to send stuff out. And I'm like blowing up Larry on a Sunday night. Like, dude, we messed up.
That's funny.
That was, we'll be ready.
We'll be ready for next year. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So speaking of all that kind of stuff, what's something maybe this year, again, church life, personal life, whatever, that you can say, man, this is probably the most tangible moment I felt the presence of God in my life?
I don't have necessarily permission. So I'll to say a person's name, I didn't ask, but our very last Vision Summit that we hosted.
You're talking about the one just the other day?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at the time of this recording, it was just days ago.
Right.
And so we did 4 this year. 3 of those 4, all of them were at capacity, and except one was barely under capacity. And then, the last one was over capacity. We had more people in that one than we've ever had. And so, and again, if you're a part of Church on the Rock, it's like some people are like, well, how do you get invited? And like, we're just making our way through the church. So it's like, look, we're just sending out invitations and trying to get people grouped. And so there's no criteria.
Oh, my phone's still working. I just had...
There's no like criteria or whatever. And so some of the thought, and I've had people say this to me, is like, I was wondering, like, is this like an elitist thing? Is this just like, oh, it's the biggest givers in the church thing or whatever? And it isn't. It just isn't. It's just our church.
Okay. That's my bad. I'll stop that rumor then.
So, thank you. Yeah. It's just our church. Right. And so anyway, long story short, there was just this guy, man, in the last summit that I met at the summit.
Oh, wow.
So I've never met him before. And so when he and his wife walked in, and he's like, hey man, I'm so-and-so. And I'm like, hey, I'm Josh. And he's like, I'm so glad to meet you. And I'm like, I'm super glad to meet you, and this is a guy, man, that's been in our church for a little while. He's never stopped, like in the lobby to talk to me or whatever. We just never have intersected. And so, that guy blessed me so much. I mean, so very much, in that summit. There was a moment that he shared, and his obvious, just humble brokenness before the Lord. And look, I'm a crybaby. If you know me, you know that. I will cry at a Disney commercial. It's annoying. It drives me nuts to be so easily like stirred to tears. But there are times when I feel the presence of God, and I don't know how else to respond. It always chokes me up. And like, I'll probably always hold the image of that moment in my mind. Probably always. I think it's going to be a moment I remember for a long, long time. He probably has no idea how much it blessed me. But when he stood and just to share with our group, in the most humble and broken way, and he was fighting back emotion, and he was just talking about the unconditional love of a father.
Wow.
And how God held nothing back in his love toward us. And he gave us everything. And he was being very vulnerable about himself, about how he needs to be willing to hold nothing back from the Lord. And I just had a knot in my throat and tears are in my eyes. And I'm just looking at this guy like, I want to be that right there.
Yeah.
I want our church to be that right there. I would, of all the moments of this so far this year, that one moment was it was powerful for me.
Yeah.
And you overcome by the blood of the Lamb, that love, that unconditional love that he talked about, and the word of our testimony. And his testimony just it just moved my heart, man.
Dude, I wasn't even there. I didn't know that story until this second. And you could, like, for me, I'm like, dang, man, how good is that?
Yeah.
Of like, he held nothing back from us. Man, Lord, give me the grace where I don't hold anything back from you. That's so good, man.
It was powerful, man.
All right. Let's wrap up the episode with, dude, that was really good.
It was definitely a standout.
You could feel the weight on that.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome, buddy.
And then just hearing people share how God has moved in their life as a result of our church, you know? And one of the things I love is when people are very kind and they'll compliment me and things like that. And that's great. And that's nice. And I'm a words guy too. So it means a ton. And so when people say, hey man, I love your preaching, or whatever it is,
like, gotta tell me more.
Yeah. I am very appreciative always. It does mean a lot to me. But I think my favorite thing is when people go, well, I'll never forget, it was so-and-so that was the first person that said hey to me when I walked in, or it was so-and-so's group. And like they around the room, they're talking about, and I'm just sitting back like, this is the church. Yeah. I am not the church.
Right. 100%.
We are the church. And I love when the church is the church.
Yep.
And it just, that right there is it's the best.
We have a thing at Champion. It drives me nuts. And Joe Corder's watching this and he knows it and he does it to make me mad. He'll be like, your church. I'm like, no, it's like, and we said this from the beginning. It's not yours. It's not Hersey's church. It's our church.
That's right.
Because I can't do it at all. My family can't do it all. It's going to take all of us to move the vision forward. And that's kind of what I hear you saying.
Yes. And I think that, and I know we talked about this in the last show, but I think that's why God is moving the way he is at Champion. I think it's why you're experiencing what you're experiencing and seeing what you're seeing, because I think the more a church family gets hold of that, the more like the ecclesia. Yeah,
100%.
Which is the Greek word, which really, I guess I'm paraphrasing this, you may know better, but it really means like people on the move.
I have no idea. It's the first time I've ever heard that in my life.
Oh, okay. So the ecclesia is like the first time. It's like Acts.
The ecclesia, right.
But I think it's best described as like people moving.
Oh, I don't know.
And I think the more that
sounds good though.
You should fact check me, because this is where I'm like, I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. So if you're a listener, just fact check that, and then don't tell us if we're wrong. Just improve your own discipleship.
Just grow yourself.
Yeah, no, tell us, because I'd like to know if I've fumbled. But that, I think the more a church family gets hold of that, that's how it's supposed to be. So I think God's just like, yes, let's go. Right. I think his spirit just moves in that kind of stuff. So
I'm trying to see if that's true or not.
Oh, good. Yeah. Let's fact check me right now.
Yes, you're right. All right. So while ecclesia is often translated as church in the New Testament, its original meaning doesn't directly translate to, or it says it doesn't. The called out ones are the called assembly.
Okay.
Why would you say that? This is long. I don't have time to read that. There's a lot there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but it is about us.
To get, 100%.
It is not about a leader.
It's never about the talking head at the front of the room. It is never about that. Even Paul would say, who's Apollos, who's Paul? One plants, one waters. God brings the increase.
That's right. And truthfully, if guys like you and I, or any pastor, worship leader, like, pride is the root of all of our sin anyway, but it is super, super easy for guys like us to start thinking it's about us. And that is the worst. You want to get disappointed, put your hope in the leader. Like, your hope should be in Jesus. Right. Which is one of the reasons I say it jokingly, but I kind of mean it. Like, if I'm going to disappoint you, I'd like to do it as quickly as possible. And what I mean by that is I will inevitably disappoint you. Yeah. I am not perfect. 100%. And, I don't even know how to define ecclesia clearly. And so
I'm going to have to read more on that, because I said on them, I put that in the, we'll fix it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a great thing. I love that kind of stuff to study out, but don't put your hope in the guy or the leader or the people, because people are people. You know what 100%. I mean? We went to a church conference several years back, and this is a brag to them. And it's like I think there were 4 nights or something, and you're going, and like every night you're going to have this. Then they said, you're going to have these big name people preaching. And we get there and they wouldn't reveal who was preaching what night.
Oh boy, and Christians hate that.
Yeah. And I was like, what the heck, man? Like, I can't wait for so-and-so.
Hate that.
And then the leader, the MC, I don't know what you would call it, the guy that was kind of hosting the event, he said, hey, look, I know that can bother some people, but here's the deal. We don't want you here so that you can hear from Trevor Hersey or Josh Hersey or whoever. We want you here.
I pretend I was at a big church conference. Thank you, though. I really appreciate that.
But like, we want you here so that you can hear from the Lord.
Yeah, that's good.
And so don't just show up because of a speaker. Show up because you're hungry to hear what God has to say, and he's going to use that speaker to do it.
Yeah.
And instantly it put everything on a level field for me. And I'll just speak for myself, where I was just like, I needed that a little bit.
That's
because
really good.
I think whoever the speaker is on Tuesday can hear from the Lord and speak into my life as much as my favorite person that's going to speak this week, or whatever. And so,
and that helps with attendance.
They're true.
But it's true. Are y'all going to do that to celebrate? Or are you not going to say who's doing what night?
I don't know how. I don't know. I haven't even thought about that, because honestly, I don't know if we promote these speakers, how much people are going to be like, I know that.
I can promise you. If they're like Trevor, they're like, who? I can guarantee you.
That is not a shot against you, but even,
no, that's true. No, 100% right.
Even my buddy Corey, who leads a very large, very successful church.
Name. I've never heard of him.
Corey is connected. The dude knows the dudes.
Right. Literally, I'm today's years old hearing his name. Yeah.
And it's like, are people going to, it doesn't matter, but the dude can sling it, man. He's awesome. He's awesome. Excited. And he's super humble, and I love the guy.
If you're going to go to Accelerate, you should really go on that Saturday night. You should really be there that night. All right, let's jump to this next one. What do you feel like something God's stirring in you right now in this season? Gosh, you kind of talked about that a little bit on the last one.
Yeah, I feel like that was that whole fatherhood thing that I'm pumped about.
You want to see? We talked about. You're right. We talked about it in the last one. All right. What do you feel like you're in a sense of right now? You're still planting, or do you feel like you're already seeing harvest? Meaning specifically to what we did talk about in the last episode, the massive shift of Church on the Rock into the discipleship.
I think we're probably in that season where it's like we can see the growth in the field.
Gotcha.
And the harvest is, I feel like it's kind of right in front of us.
That has to be exciting. I'm not even being funny. That has to be legitimately exciting.
And it's the reason I say that too is because you hear people saying, and I'm talking about people within the church, and I'm not talking about staff members. I'm just talking about people. And that doesn't exclude staff, but just people that are Church on the Rock. You'll hear people saying things like, man, I just feel like we're on the brink of something. Like, I feel like God is doing something. Yeah. I feel like we're about to break through something, or whatever. And there's such a sense of anticipation. And then I also think that by the grace of God, we have built a sense of needed stability. Because as you know, we went through a couple of years ago this rough run where there was just a ton of staff turnover. And
you're coming right out of COVID too.
Coming out of COVID. And that like, it was really rough. And I think I'll be really honest. If I was an attender at Church on the Rock and I'm watching that kind of turnover, I would have questioned me.
I remember you tell me that.
I would have been like, what is he really like?
Yeah.
And like, what happens between these Sundays? I would have instantly been looking at the leader going, what's his problem? And so, and Satan can get all up in my head and do all kind of things in there. And so, but I do tell our church, like, I know that I'm not perfect. I know that for sure. I will admit that. And if you hang around with me long enough, you'll discover that on your own. But I do have a pure heart. I don't have, like, I'm not trying to, there's no mask, there's no smoke or mirrors. There's no hidden agendas.
I was about to say,
I always tell people I don't think it's wrong when people have agendas.
Right.
I think it's wrong when they have hidden ones. If I have an agenda, I'll just tell you what it is, And so,
might as well just get it out.
Yeah, like, hey, like we're here to try to do this. Okay, let me just tell you, or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Our staff is, I think there's a chemistry and a trust on our team. Our team has kind of been locked in now into their roles for a while. People are starting to really see the fruit of the efforts of our staff. You know what I mean? Like when people think kids ministry, they are thinking of Nisi and her incredible leadership in that area. When people think missions and care, they're thinking Pastor Juan. When people think like operations of the church and budget, they're thinking of Larry. Right. I can go with people when we talk about freedom in Christ, they're thinking of Catherine. Right. When they're thinking of groups, they're thinking of Cynthia. I mean, you know what I'm saying? When events, they're thinking of Lauren. I don't want to skip our team here, but they're
Jeremy. Well, they see Jeremy on stage.
Worship. Jeremy. When they think of like I call her the administrative muscle. They're thinking Lorene, who's the longest tenured staff member we have.
She's so sweet in emails too. Like she makes me feel better every time she sends me an email.
She's so wonderful, and she's great to hug. You just both arms. Just get a little hold.
She is so sweet in emails.
She's the best, and she's truly one of my.
So is Miss Catherine, expecting something big or expecting big things or something every time. I'm like,
every single one of our staff has a real special and endearing place, in my heart.
You did say Lauren, right?
I did, because events,
I was like, buddy,
events.
If you're going to pass over your wife,
we're about to go on vacation too.
Nice. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Let me rephrase. She's about to go on vacation, and I get to come.
I'll just be there.
That girl has. And we say this with intention to our team. Like, we do not give vacation. Everyone earns it. Yeah. When people go on vacation, you have earned this time off. God bless you. Relax, have fun. My wife has earned.
I don't know if people realize. Not that we have. I don't know if people realize how much she has her hands into stuff behind this. There's not a single thing that I know of on my side of stuff that's not getting approved by her.
I am not trying to be partial. She is my favorite human on the planet. She has so impressed. I knew she had a lot in. I knew that. I mean, we've been together for like 25 years. I know what's in there. She has exceeded any expectation of mine. She has blown me away with her capacity. That girl's smart. Yeah.
Just hand anything pretty much you see as COTR, color-wise, graphic-wise, any of that kind of stuff. That's just the side I see. She's got her hand in it.
She's in this interesting place too, because she's been with me for longer than we've been leading the church, but she's been a part of that the whole time. But then she's only been a staff member for like a year and a half. And so there's this kind of interesting.
I didn't realize it was that. Yeah.
There's sort of this interesting thing like, well, she knows it deeper and better, and we're about to hire somebody right now, but she's still the newest hire.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's just an interesting dynamic that she gets to play. And so she has her voice in a ton of things because of her position with me and all that stuff. 100%. So,
that's cool stuff. It's a little peek behind the curtain for everybody if you didn't know that.
And I will unapologetically just brag on her. And I don't care if people are like, oh, he's just saying that, because whatever, you say whatever you want. I love her. And I think she's amazing.
You're not dumb.
And I will not apologize for bragging about her. So
let's jump to a little vision here, kind of last part of this. But I want to ask it in a different way. If you could do one thing, and you cannot say hunting.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So if you could do one thing in the ministry that is not a realistic thing right now, but if you could just pour your heart into one thing, what would it be? I know that's a tough one.
I really think that it would be in leadership development. I would love, and I need to really improve here. I get a little too much credit for leadership, I think, often. And I would love to be able to better identify who has like a mark from God on their life. For every disciple of Jesus has a mark from the Lord to do ministry. Not everybody has a mark on their life to do vocational ministry. Correct. Okay. So when I say this, I'm speaking into the lane of like people that ministry is going to be their livelihood. I have a decent eye for sort of seeing the intangibles and seeing potential in people. And I do my best to try to call that up. But I've really got to improve on developing that. And like, how do you cultivate that? And how do you actually
speak into it and coach it? And
so, but that excites me a lot. I love to see people, hit their potential. I love to see people, I love to see people achieve things they didn't even know was in them. And sometimes there's a few examples where I've been able to speak into people and say, I don't even know if you know you got this, but you do. And then when they kind of see it come to fruition, cool. Like the fulfillment of their heart. So maybe just that, you know, I'd be totally content to get out of the light a lot, get behind the scenes a little more and just pour into others, you know, but I'm going to be obedient to whatever God asks me to do.
Right. Yeah. That's just a fun little thing to think about of like, what is like the passion of what, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the same for the listener. Like if you're watching, it's about COTR and champion and what's happening and all that kind of stuff. But even in your own life, it's a good thing to look at like, man, if I could pour into one thing, what would it be? Not like, I'd sit on a beach and, play scratch offs, you know what I'm saying? Like not like that, but like legitimate things that you could do with your life. And even to look back at, all right, we're, going back to the 21 days of prayer thing. What is something I saw God move in that we were believing for? And that's a great thing to build, your faith up, for sure. For sure.
What about you? What would you do?
If I could do anything?
If there was just like a one thing.
Dylan and I were actually talking about this before we hit record. I have fallen in love with writing. I love it. But it was a weird, I don't know if this will help anybody. It was a weird transition to get to where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Because the first time I did it, it was so bad and so embarrassing. I was like, I'm telling you, it was awful.
This is your grade of it.
No. This is anybody who can read.
Oh, okay.
This is.
Did you get real feedback that said this is bad from
100%.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair.
Yeah.
All
like
right,
people that love me, like this is, and they used worse words than bad. And then it's a weird thing too, because and Dylan and I were talking about this. I kind of wanted, there was a guy that really helped me get into it. And hey, here's how you can take your sermons, your transcripts, your notes, and pump this stuff out, through AI, that kind of stuff. I just never proofread it. And if it would not have been for this gentleman, I would not be able to do what I'm doing right now. So I don't want someone to hear something I'm not saying. Mm-hmm. I didn't go through it. I was just kind of like, is what it is. Let's get it out. It's a need. Is what it is. Let's get it out. It's a need in our church. Big time. We need this. We need this. We need this. And my mom was going through it because she's written a couple books. And she's like, Trevor, have you proofread this? I was like, no, I skimmed it. And she was like, I vividly remember, I was telling Dylan earlier, like in my mom's living room, she's got her laptop. She's like, and I got frustrated. Like, Mom, you don't understand. We have to get this stuff out. People need this stuff. Let's get it out. It's going to serve a massive purpose in our church. We were trying to hit a deadline, did all this kind of stuff. And I read it once we got about 500 copies in. And it was like, man, it was awful. And there's no one to blame but myself, 100%. But it did a weird thing to me where it really discouraged me. So then I tried and it still sucked. So that was probably a couple months ago. And I gave it to a few people to just proofread. And they're like, this is off. And I'm like, so discouraged by it. And I'm like, man, I know I want to, I'm such a believer. I think we said earlier in this episode that readers are leaders.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in that. Like if it takes you something 25 years to learn, but if you write it down, I can learn it in, let's just say 25 days. Now I might not have the skill that you have in it, but I can have the same knowledge. If that's anybody, if they write it down, and this stuff is going to last if no one ever reads it except my two kids, 40 years from now, it's worth it to me. Does that make sense? So like, I tried again. I tried again on the cruise because it was, it's light at 3 a.m. and it doesn't get dark till 11 in Alaska.
I was challenging you about that. Like, bro, you don't have to like rest. You're like, I don't know what to do. The sun's up and I'm awake.
Oh my goodness. It was, but I just sat and I started to write and plug the stuff in and I've fallen in love with it. And so if I could do anything right now, I would just write. It is That's awesome. I love it. I hope it helps. I don't know I might be sitting here in 3 months, be like, it sucked again. So I don't know. That's my thing, right? I would just write a ton, just material. Like people will just going through I just want to write biblical things that apply to people in every season of their life.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Felicia said something the other day, and because no one's probably watching this long, she said something the other day I've not been able to shake. And because a dream for Champion is to have a library of videos for everything that's going on, whatever it could be, from parenting to loss to purpose to whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, what if we've used the word library since day one. She said, what if it's not necessarily videos, but it's supposed to be all these mini books of sermon series that you've done? And not that I'm trying to be, because we give it all away. It's like, I'm not trying to be a best. So there's no agenda on that. That'd be cool, but pay my house off. But
sure,
that's I love to do it and then just give it away.
Yeah.
So that's
cool, man. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's it, man. So yeah, it's good.
I would love to learn. I don't think I'd be worth a flip as a writer, honestly, but I would love to. I'd love to figure out how to. I'm such an external processor. Yeah. I think with my words often. I can't tell you how many times I'm like saying stuff and I'm like, I didn't even know I was thinking that. You know?
Right.
And if you're an external processor, you get that.
Yeah.
That will make sense to you.
Yeah, because I don't know if this episode helped anybody, but I feel like we externally processed.
Yeah, our own excitement and struggles or whatever. But I think I would love to be able to take all this message content over all these years and turn it into something different.
And here's the thing, too. Here's the truth of the matter. I've preached something. I couldn't tell you what I preached 3 weeks ago.
Right. It's easy to, because we live in the future.
Oh, 100%.
We have to be in front of the church.
Yep,
and
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Like, I know where we're going in for the fall for Champion.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I'm saying? I'm not ahead like you are with stuff already written out of sermon wise, but I know where we're going at the end of Best Summer Yet. I know exactly where we're going in September.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like, September shows up and you're like, what are we doing? You can't afford that. You know what I mean? And your life right now, you don't have the luxury to be as far ahead maybe as I do, because we live very different worlds currently, you know? Yeah. And this has taken me a long time to stretch this muscle. Mm-hmm. You know, I used to, you remember back in the day when it wasn't the Holy Spirit unless he told you last night and you're preaching it in the morning. There was like a belief
he would have to wake you up at 3 a.m.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't prepare a sermon before Saturday. Like, there was that, the whole thing is, and then. Yeah,
you couldn't preach in series because that's not being led.
Right. Yeah. And then Derek, my brother-in-law, he said this one time. He was like, whether you prepare it yesterday or you prepared a year ago, it's God's word. Yeah. Set me free.
Wow.
Set me free. It's God's word. And I was like, and so I used to just be like a series ahead. And I currently, what are we, middle of July at this?
Early July when this comes out.
It's only June.
When this comes out.
I told you.
We're living in the future. I'm about to say, when this comes out, it's the first week of July.
We are currently sitting here middle of June. Okay, yes. So as we record, I know the rest of our year. Mm-hmm. I know. Like, I've already high level outlined our Christmas series. Yeah. I did that last week, and that.
Did I miss that planning meeting too?
No planning yet on that.
Oh, I was about to throw this water.
That was just me. That was just a writing. That was just me doing some writing.
I was like, why don't y'all just tell me you don't want me in the meeting?
No,
this is how you're telling me.
Please forgive me. But it's the pace, and it's different now than where you are, and so you even knowing where you are in September is, in my opinion, it's pretty high achieving. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's high level, and it's the same for like, okay, so this is in preacher world, but you can see this in your own life. Like, it doesn't have to be just going through the motions.
That's right.
You can truly have vision for your life. Doesn't mean we don't have curveballs. Doesn't mean if something big that happens in the world, say a hurricane hits and then God forbid, you know what I'm saying? That's going to shift everything. So it's
might change. Yep.
But to have vision, to know where you're going, as cliche as that is, man, there's so much life, and that's how God did things. They planted seeds because they wanted certain harvest months down the road. And we should do the same in our everyday lives. Preachers are not, just as people of God, we should be doing the same thing with vision and intention. We are really big at that in our home. Really, really big at that.
Very impressively, because when my family was just talking about your family the other night behind your backs, because we're Christians, and that's how you do it.
And we're Hershey's.
And we were just talking about y'all's family rhythm. And my kids are like, how do they get their kids in bed that early? Like,
they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice.
That was just fun. I'm like, because anyway, it's pretty incredible.
Felicia is a big part of that, and it's just a team effort. You're talking about the ecclesia. It's a team effort.
There you go. It takes us all.
It takes a called out assembly.
That is so funny, man.
So, but no, everyone is on the same page. Like, truly, everyone's on the same page. Our kids, they don't understand money, but they know goals we have. They don't understand all that, but they understand, hey, if we do this, and this happens. And we're not great parents by any means. I think we're really, thank you. I appreciate that. But we are insanely intentional with the vision of where we're going, of what we want. Because if not, man, you just go through and you
never drift in the right direction.
That's right. There you go. That's a perfect way to end it, buddy. That's a perfect way to end it.
You're always going to drift where you don't want to be.
God, you ain't kidding. All right. I think that's good. I don't know what we're going to do on the next one, because I love talking about this stuff, though. I love reflecting.
Me too.
I'm weird. I love reflecting and then being like, okay, here we are, and this is where we're going. So until next time, happy summer to you. Make it the best summer yet. Spread the good news with somebody.
Come on.
And maybe dream a little bit. You got a lot of year left, man. You got a lot of year left. Dream a little bit. What can you do? What's something you can shift and change? And I'm a firm believer. Obed-Edom brought the Ark of the Covenant in his house for 3 months, and it changed everything. 90 days can do a lot of things if you put your heart to it. So until next time, God bless you guys. We'll talk to you soon.